All right. Welcome, everyone. I am getting ready to do a live stream where I'll do some free readings. First come, first served. Hello, Jabusin. Welcome. My name's Will, and I'm going to be doing some free readings today. Yes, I can put you on my list. Let me just get some stuff in the chat here. Take care of some business. Prob, hi, welcome. And hello, Gisu. I can add you to the list. All right, welcome everyone. I hope you're having a nice day. I'm streaming earlier today than I normally do. I've got some plans with a friend later, so I thought rather than not streaming at all, I'd do it earlier in the day. I don't know if that's better or worse for folks, but that's what works out for me today. So I thought I'd give it a shot, see how it goes. Let me just burn some Palo Santo here and then get some smoke on the cards. And then we can start reading. For those of you who might be new, my name is Will. And my channel's just a few months old. And I've just very recently started doing live streams, which I really am loving. And I think I'll be doing more of them as my schedule allows. Okay, there we go. I've got some decks here. I have the Converbendov Tarot de Marseille on the right and the Trinity Tarot by Ari. I think it's Ari Weiser. Could be Weisner. Let's check. Weisner. Ari Weisner. All right, so let's see. The first question, Jabusen was quick getting in here and wants to know what's coming up for them in June. So yeah, I can do that, a month ahead reading. And so for that kind of reading, I'd like to use the Trinity Tarot because it's square and small enough that I can fit lots of cards down on my table. So we are going to ask for Jabusen what's coming up for them in June. Let me just give this a shuffle, and then what I'll do is lay down 9 cards in a box spread, also known as a portrait spread. And the center card will give us the central issue. We'll look at the corners for theme. We'll read the columns to establish a timeline. And then we can look at the rows for more information about what you're thinking, what you're doing, and maybe what you're not totally aware of in the current month. Well, the upcoming month, right? Now, I will say, since this is kind of a predictive question, right? Let me give my little spiel about prediction. So we all have free will and nothing is set in stone. And so anything that I'm saying with what's coming up in the next month is all subject to change. It's very much like forecasting rather than prediction. So I would think about it like forecasting the weather, for example, as opposed to predicting events that are absolutely certain to occur. So just keep that in mind, right? Like there are lots of moving parts, there are lots of variables. And when I'm reading for a future event like this, I like to think about it more of what should I keep in mind? What should I have at the forefront of my mind in order for the best possible outcomes to be there, as opposed to thinking like the cards are telling me for certain exactly what's going to happen, whether I do anything or not, right? So that's how I would think of this. All right, so let's pull 9 cards for Jabusin and see what's coming up for them in June. And welcome to those of you who are joining. I'm just doing a reading for someone, and once I've done that, I'll take a look at the chat and add any new folks to the list who might be requesting that. I'm doing readings first come, first served, which means that you will have to wait if there are folks ahead of you in line. But if you can't wait, you're always welcome to subscribe to the channel so that you can see when I'll be going live. I make a point of scheduling my lives ahead of time so that you can plan for them. Okay, so we've got the Crown of Cups, 4 Pentacles, Seven Swords, 5 Pentacles, and the Keeper of Cups. So can I ask Jabusin, I hope I'm saying your name close to right. I hope I'm not really messing it up. But can I ask if you're in a relationship at the moment? Before I turn over the rest of the cards, just because, hi, David. He says his name's David. Because I'm seeing sort of a couple here at the center card and the first card I turned over. Okay, you're single. Okay, that helps me with some context. All right, 10 of Pentacles. Wheel of Fortune. The Fool. And 6 Wands. Okay. So the central card in the spread is the Keeper of Cups. In another deck, this would be the Queen of Cups. And over here in the top left, we have the Crown of Cups. And so I'm thinking that this represents you, David, the Crown of Cups, and that in the center, there is this Keeper of Cups person. And so a couple ways of reading that. Like one would be, this is a potential new love interest. That's the first thought that comes to mind. Wouldn't have to be that. And if, in case you haven't seen me read before, you should know that I read all of the court cards. These are court cards. I read them regardless of gender, right? So these could be people of any gender, right? But they're both from this sort of the same like suit, like the same tarot family. And so they're sort of the 2 mature people from the suit of cups. And so that's why I think of them as kind of a couple or like a really close friendship or something like that. It would also be possible to read this rather than another person. It could be another aspect of your personality, right? And so something else to consider there is like if right now you're more in your Crown of Cups or King of Cups mode, then maybe it's suggesting a shift to more like a Keeper of Cups mode, which would mean working on being more patient and understanding and nurturing as opposed to active and powerful and outgoing, that kind of thing. Okay. So those are just some initial thoughts that I have looking at the central card. What I'll do now is look at the corner cards to establish a kind of theme for the reading. And so we've got the Crown of Cups here in the top left. And so this would be someone who can sometimes overpower their own feelings or emotions. So when I see this card, I often think of someone who's like, can be sensitive and very creative, but who has learned that they need to find the appropriate ways to express their creativity and their sensitivity and their emotional side in public, like to the world. They have to sometimes tone it down, or like, they can't always say exactly what they feel out loud to other people because they've learned that other people don't always take it the right way. And so this is someone who maybe can feel like they've had to sacrifice or give up a bit some authentic part of themselves. It's still there, right? But it's sort of hidden deep down. And they can't always like let it out to other people as much as maybe they would have liked to do, right? So that's the first thought that I have, is that maybe there will be something in the reading about needing to find a way to let something out that's sort of buried down. With the Seven of Swords, I think you might be the kind of person who other people don't totally understand. The Seven of Swords, I sort of think about sometimes as like a really unique person who's maybe kind of quiet and thinks a lot and strategizes, and other people don't totally get that person. Like other people might ask you, like, why are you doing that? Right? Like, they don't totally get where you're coming from, in other words. And so that would jive, would like make sense, I think, too, with the Crown of Cups, where there's like some part of your personality maybe where other people don't totally get you, and you're trying really hard to sort of fit in and make that acceptable to other people, but you have to kind of work at that a little bit, right? With the Six of Wands, I would see you being victorious and successful at something that you are doing, to such an extent that like you're getting public recognition for it, like maybe a project at work is accomplished and people recognize that you played a key part in that. Or there's, I don't know, you pass a class that was really hard and people recognize how hard you worked for it, something like that. The Six of Wands is about going forward successfully, because you've built something, you've accomplished something. And then the Wheel of Fortune down here in the left corner would indicate that there may be a kind of change of circumstances coming, and that it would be something you really don't have any control over. With the Wheel of Fortune, it's like fate, destiny, circumstance. There's not a whole lot that you can do about it. And so we'll get to what that might point to in just a moment. So the theme of the reading seems to me to be someone who has a very creative and maybe intuitive or emotional kind of part to them, side to them, aspect to them, but who has maybe had to keep it under lock and key a little bit, hide it away. And other folks may not totally get that part of them. But by doing that, they found that they have been successful, or they're going to be successful, since we're talking ahead for the month of June. And so that's tough, right? Because on the one hand, you might think, well, I should be more myself. I should like let that core part of me that's in there out and share it with people. But on the other hand, if you're succeeding by hiding it, you might think maybe I should keep like just telling people what they want to hear, right? So what we'll do next is look at the columns. We'll start with the left, and that represents the early part of the month, and then the middle, and then the later part of the month, like maybe approximately 10-day increments, we can say. And so let's come back to the Wheel of Fortune here, where I said some circumstance may come along that you don't have total control over. And so I think it's going to be this Five of Pentacles kind of thing, which would often represent a disruption in something to do with your material well being, like money, time, or energy. And so you can expect at the beginning of the month, like maybe there's not quite enough money, or you feel like you don't have enough energy or time, and so there's some kind of disruption in your ordinary everyday flow of life, and it will have to do with something materially related, and it would be something that you sort of aren't going to be able to stop, right? It's Wheel of Fortune, so it's sort of luck of the draw. That's just what's going to happen. um, doesn't mean it's going to be terrible. And in fact, the cards afterwards show that it's going to be fine in the end, but it will be something you sort of have to cope with in the moment. And so in the middle of the month, with the Four of Pentacles, this would be finding some stability with money, right? Or time or energy. So like things are going to level out, but also probably you working on holding tightly to whatever it is that you've got, like not splurging on stuff, not spending money that you don't have, right? You can see the four coins, which represent stability, are sort of locked away in this chest, and there's a key hanging, as though you're like, can't spend these coins, lock these coins up, right? We can't splurge on them. Yeah, a little bit tight with money towards the beginning of the month. Although if you see at the end, we've got the Ten of Pentacles coming, and so don't fear, right? Like it's going to be fine. With the Fool down here, there's a couple ways to think about this. One could be, of course, foolishness, right? Like behaving in a naive way or not paying close enough attention to risks that might be involved with something that you're doing coming up this month, like a risky investment or well, I mean, it could be anything, but it would have to do with like ignoring warning signs, right? The other way to think about it, though, is it can be about a very endearing kind of enthusiasm for a new project, right? So if you have a new work project or a new job coming up or anything like that, it could also be, to go back to this idea of a relationship. You know, the only cups cards, and cups are about relationships, the only cups cards I'm seeing here are the two um the two court cards, right? The Crown and the Keeper here. But the Fool could be like sort of meeting up with a person who you've never met before. If in fact this card in the center represents a new person, the Fool could be like setting off on the path to get to know that new person and feeling kind of foolish, right? Like many of us do when we start a new relationship. If you're like shy and you don't know what to say, and you feel kind of silly, and all of that kind of stuff. So I could imagine that coming too. With the right column here, we've got strategizing with Seven of Swords. And so I'm thinking about money because 3 of the cards here are about money. And so strategizing, like planning, figuring out how you're going to make your financial situation a little bit better, and succeeding with that because we've got the 10 of Pentacles. And so if you think about the progression of Pentacles, 5 is a disruption, 4 is finding some stability, and then 10 is like, okay, everything's fine now, right? With 10, it's the most pentacles that you could have on any one tarot card. And so it's like there's enough to go around. And so, you know, if there are money problems, I would think that by the end of the month, those are solved, right? Because of probably whatever success is represented here by the 6 of Wands, like a deal comes through, or you do something where other people are recognizing your efforts and you get like a bonus or something. Anything like that is a possibility. So let me pause there and ask you David, does that give you a sense of what's coming up for you for the month? There are a couple other things we could look at if, like, there are additional questions that are lingering or that need an answer. But I guess let me know what you think so far of what resonates. It sounds like you did say in the chat tight with money, and I'm thinking that means you are already anticipating that next month might be tight with money. And so this is confirming that, it sounds like, with the Pentacles cards. But I would give you hope, optimism that by the end of the month with the 10 of Pentacles, if your strategizing and planning is good, and if you're good at sort of saving, or if not saving, not spending more than you have with the 4 of Pentacles, then that would be good. You need a job. Okay, so the Fool could represent a new job, right? The Fool is someone who's starting off on a new journey, right? And so they're just at the very beginning of it. And so I wonder if, with cups, we think of something that fulfills us, that nourishes us, that gives us what we need. And so if what you need is a job, I wonder if this card in the center could be someone who has the key to offering you a new path forward with the Fool, where you will feel successful with the 6 of Wands and be able to make the money that you need, 10 of Pentacles, to fix that issue, right? So in that case, I would think like around the middle of the month, right? That there's this understanding, patient person who's able to stabilize your financial situation by putting you on this new path as the Fool. So I also would just add, with the Wheel of Fortune down here in the corner, like if you're looking for a job, it's not your fault that you haven't found one yet, right? The Wheel of Fortune is saying it's sort of out of your control. Circumstances are beyond what you can control. Yeah, the start of the reading also reminded me of a love situation with the 2 cups cards there. And I would, if there were other cards in the reading, I'd be more inclined to think of it like that. And it still is possible. But given that every single other card in the spread is from the major arcana or is another suit, and that there's this clear line of pentacles that flows like all the way through, I'm a little more inclined to think that this is about the money situation, which of course also involves the work situation too. So I think there's reason for hope on the work front. It's possible too that, it could be both, right? The Fool could mean starting off on a new work thing and also meeting this new person who's at the center of the spread. It doesn't have to be one or the other, right? Sometimes the cards will indicate that it's both and. Okay, so I am going to take a look at the chat now because I think we've got some folks who want to be added to the list. So, Hermione, I see a Hermione here. I will add Hermione. And then Ivy Hawthorne, I will add you. And Anne's Human. So next on my list would be Prob, if Prob is here. And if there's not already and actually, I don't even know, Prob, if you wanted to be on the list. I just saw you say hello and I added you. But if, it's cool if you just want to hang out. You don't have to ask a question. And so I'll see if Prob wants a reading. And if Prob does, we'll read for Prob. Otherwise, Gisu would be next. And David, you're very welcome. I wish you all the best in your job search. And if you meet someone, that would be, of course, very exciting too. But I would say there's a lot of room for optimism in the money situation. And keep an eye out for a new opportunity, probably around the middle of the month. And if we don't have Prob or Gisu, then Hermione would be the next person. So let me pick these cards up. Welcome to anyone who is joining us. My name's Will, and I'm doing free tarot readings today. The channel's just a few months old, and the live readings are pretty new. I've just been doing them in like the last week or so, but I really like them because I'm able to interact in real time with folks as opposed to like pick a card readings that are pre-recorded. It's not the same. All right, and Hermione wants to know what will happen next between me and my crush. And yes, Anne's Human, you are on the list. So let me ask Hermione. This is since you said crush, I assume this is someone you've never dated, but it's someone from like work or school, or that you see semi regularly, and you're maybe interested in dating this person, but nothing has happened yet. Is that an accurate assessment of where things stand right now? Okay, Hermione says, yes, I never dated. It's a childhood crush. He was a schoolmate, and you don't see him regularly now. Okay. No contact. Okay. So I'm going to pull 3 cards, and we'll see what they say and go from there. And the question again is, what is most likely to happen between these two people? All right, 3 cards for Hermione. Let's see. What do we have here? 6 wands. Knight of Wands. And 9 pentacles. Okay, so when we're talking about a relationship reading or a potential relationship reading, cups, cards from the suit of cups would be what we'd want to see most of. Although it depends on the individual, right? But if we're talking about like a deep emotional, like a deep, nourishing, long-term sort of emotional connection, then we probably are wanting to see cups. The there's other cards too, potentially, but so with the 6 of Wands, I would think about this is someone who thought of you as like a schoolmate or a workmate, like someone who they could play with or work with, right? And get along with, like collaborate together with. Like I can see here like a group of people sort of like following the leader or working together or doing something fun together. I always think of fun with wands, right? It's wands are about um, what you're passionate about, what gets you out of bed in the morning, what excites you, what stimulates you, that kind of stuff, right? So like maybe I don't know, seeing each other in the hallway and making jokes, or like playing at recess if you were really young together and school, that kind of thing, right? With the Knight of Wands, I would imagine that this represents uh, the your crush, I guess we'll call them your crush. And this would be someone who is taking action in their life, who likes to have a good time, who likes to have fun, right? And who's maybe still got some growing up to do. They're the kind of person who, frankly, um, needs attention, right? And who isn't always great at making a long term commitment, okay? Which doesn't mean that they would never be able to do that, but they sort of are more likely, especially if they're younger and still have some developing and growing to do. They're the kind of person who is more likely to like date around sort of casually, right? Because for them, the point of dating would be to have a good time, right? To have fun, to try new things, right? To be excited, to have stimulating relationships and conversation and all of that. And so that's the card that's showing up for this person, which makes me think um, if anything were ever to happen, it would probably be more of a casual kind of thing as opposed to like a soulmate long term, like Romeo and Juliet kind of a deal, right? Uh, but things, as I always say, can change. And so if as this person grows up and ages and matures, that could be different. I also suspect this is someone who is working really a lot and is motivated in a very practical kind of way to improve their situation in life, right? And I say that because wands are about building things and making things and doing something that you're excited and passionate about, which can often be career, right? And the 9 coins that we see back here, this is about attaining money, right? So that you or so that your crush has all of the material financial resources that they need to be very comfortable in life. And so to sort of answer the question, yeah, Hermione says he's working hard in his career. That absolutely tracks here. And so I think that his focus right now in terms of relationships would be like those are of secondary importance. What's really important is working hard, making money, building a stable career, right? But back here, he is someone who likes to have fun, right? And so just because he's working doesn't mean that he's never having fun. It does mean, I think, that right now, like a deep long-term relationship is probably not at the forefront of this person's mind, you know, which isn't to say never. It just means like this is a snapshot of right now, you know. So, I mean, I think this person's doing well for themselves. We've got working together with others and being passionate about their career and movement with the knight. Knights are always about movement and going forward, um, and heading towards 9 coins, which we'd certainly want to see. If there's anything going wrong for this person, then it could be that they're going too quickly This knight is the fastest of the knights. And so they're the kind of person who, like, if it turns out that they are going the wrong direction, they won't notice it until they've gone quite a ways in that wrong direction. I don't see that in these three cards happening, right? But if we were looking for like what could be an obstacle for this person, it could be that they could be a little reckless and saying like, well, I'm already headed this way and I'm going so fast, so I may as well keep going, right? And then if they were to realize it was the wrong direction, um, it would sort of be too late. Yeah, so I wouldn't expect to see this person suddenly reaching out um, to you or necessarily to anyone, right, for a relationship, unless it was just like, here's what I could see happening. If they happen to run into someone, you or anyone who they thought it would be fun to have a good time with, right? Like, I don't know, maybe this person likes to like sports, right? And if they met someone who liked the same sport and was like, "Hey, let's go to the game on Saturday," right? This person would be totally down for that because it's casual, it's convenient, it's fun, right? That's the kind of thing that this person I think would be down for. But if we're wondering like, are they going to think back about a deep connection that they had in the past, for someone who maybe that they aren't seeing in a practical way right now, I think it's unlikely that they would go out of their way to pursue that um, right now, if that makes sense. Yeah. So let me take a look at the chat. And Jay, I can add you to the list. Let's see. And that would put Prob, if you want a reading, you can get one. Gisu, if you want a reading, you could get one. And then the next would be Ivy Hawthorne. I love the deck too, Ivy. This is a Tarot de Marseille deck. And this particular one is the Conver Bendove Tarot de Marseille Restoration. This is an old deck. 17. It's a restoration of a deck from 1760, if I'm remembering my date correctly. And I have a couple decks that are restorations of this. This one is my sort of workhorse deck because it's inexpensive, and so I've put tape on some of the cards where there are things that YouTube probably wouldn't want me to show, and I didn't want to do that to my my more expensive deck, but I can show you. This is the deck that I use for myself when I'm not reading on YouTube, but I didn't want to put tape on it, so that's why I don't. But I can show you some of the cards. I mean, they're very similar. They're wider, right? And they're more flexible. They're easier to shuffle as well. But the images are almost identical to what you're seeing with the cards I am reading with. It's just that this deck was more expensive, and so I didn't want to mark it up with tape like I did this one. Okay, so let's see. Ivy, I'm not sure if you've posted a question yet, and Hermione, you're very welcome. I like your butterfly emojis. I'm glad you got some clarity from this. I think he's just, he's kind of in work mode right now. That's what I get from those cards, and I think he is making progress and doing well, which suggests growth, right? That maturing and all of that. So Ivy's question today is whether Evan, the person I have strong feelings for, is the one. I can't seem to stop thinking about him. Thanks for answering. Cool. And so, have you ever dated Evan, or is this someone who you're interested in but have never actually had a relationship with? And while you answer that, I'm just going to shuffle off camera because it's quicker. Okay, just a crush. Got it. Yes, Anne's human, you can post your question. All right, and if anyone is just joining, my name is Will. I'm doing free tarot readings. You can request to be added to the first come, first served list by typing in the chat. Okay, so Ivy, we want to know if Evan is the one, like a twin flame, soulmate, long-term relationship kind of situation. Different people will use different words to describe that, but that's what I'd think about here. And so I'm going to lay out 3 cards and we'll see what that gets us. We're looking for cups. If we see cups, then that means a deep emotional connection. Probably. We'll have to, we'll always read in the context, but most likely that's what it means. If we see wands, it would mean a passionate connection, but that's fire, so it can burn out. If we see swords, it's an intellectual connection. If we see pentacles or coins, then it's a practical connection, right? So is Evan the one? And of course, it's possible we'll get just court cards and majors and we won't get any of those. And then we'll just read what we see, right? I always read based on what I actually see and not just what I think people want to hear, which means sometimes I have to deliver news that, people didn't want, right? But there are other tarot readers you can find who will just tell you what you want to hear. I genuinely like reading the cards, and so I'm going to read what I see, and I'll do my best to do that accurately. Okay. Got some swords. The World. And the Chariot. Interesting combination. So 2 major arcana and then 1 minor, and it's the 4 of Swords. So is this person the one? Let me just look at these for a moment. Take a sip of my tea. So the first thing I notice, besides the fact that the world is at the center of the spread and that the world means fulfillment, completion, connection, bringing together lots of different things into one like big, beautiful whole, is I notice the similarity in the shape of this wreath around the figure in the world and the shape of the swords around the flower in the 4 of Swords card. And so it's like if you squint your eyes, you can really see the way the shape is very similar. And so I'm getting this like flower turning into this beautiful sort of elevated figure. This card, the Four of Swords, is often read as a card that's about rest, right? I can think of it as sort of putting up restrictions uh, for rest, maybe, but also so that growth can happen because this big, beautiful flower, sort of the way I read it, is like this flower couldn't grow as big and beautiful as it is if it didn't have this fence of swords around it to protect it from all of these other little flowers that might want to encroach upon its space. And so I'm thinking about like someone um, cloistering themselves away or isolating themselves in some way so that they can bloom, right? As though if they were out involved with too many other people um, or flowers, right? That they wouldn't be able to sort of become as big and beautiful and strong as they otherwise would, and that it worked, right? Because we get this beautiful shape of the wreath, and in the world card, it's not swords anymore. The swords become the wreath that actually connects all these different figures, right? We have the four fixed signs of the zodiac here. And it's like all these disparate elements, each one representing one of the elements, come together. And so that we've got this, like this quintessence spirit maybe in the center. And so if the question is he like the one, right? This would tell me something like, how do I want to say this? Not yet, but it's coming, if that makes sense. Like, I read the cards left to right as more like early, current, or future, or like past, present, future, right? And I would read this as him, right? And I would read this as you. That's what I'm getting. And so it's like something about your current circumstance or context with these swords needs to change or will change, right? I think it's necessary now for you to become from the flower to become the figure in the center here, and to get rid of the swords to sort of let other elements in. And then here he is driving forward in the chariot, as though, I think of the chariot as like moving forward in the world, taking action, being successful, getting on the right path forward, and all of that. And so I think there's a lot of potential there. It's almost like you're in a process of improvement or growth or being elevated. And once that happens, you can see the way that the charioteer, he's facing forward, but his eyes are just ever so slightly glancing to the left, as though they're like looking at you, right? So it's almost like there's something in you he can't see yet, right? But once you go from the flower to the world, then he'll be able to see it, if that makes sense. So that would tell me that there's a connection, that like he would recognize a connection between him and you. I do kind of want to pull 3 more cards, because that doesn't really answer the question of whether he's, as you put it, the one, right? Because seeing a connection doesn't necessarily mean that it's a the one situation. So let's ask now, if this change happens from Four Swords to the world so that he is able to see something elevated or new or different that he hasn't maybe noticed before, like let's ask, what is the best possible outcome between the two of you if that happens? Okay. Four wands. This can be celebration. Can also mean stalemate. The high priestess or popess. And the queen of coins. So I read the court cards and really all the cards in sort of gender inclusive ways, meaning that I don't I think a knight could be a man or a woman or a person of any gender. I think a king or a queen could be a man or a woman or a person of any gender. And because I think, well, there's lots of reasons for that I don't have time to get into right now. But looking at the way, like, if this is him and this is you in a future state, right? It's almost like, well, you're kind of turned away from him. Like, you're looking over here at these four wands, but he's looking at you, like offering you a coin. So I'd almost read this as like, there's something you want to say to him and you're not saying it. And you're over here looking at four wands, which could be a celebration of some kind. It can also represent a wedding, right? It's anytime people get together in like groups to celebrate something. And so there's sort of a break from ordinary work and from building things and making things. It's like you've reached a pinnacle, a plateau of something. And he's over here like offering you a coin. He's offering you something practical when you're looking at something like a big celebration. And so it's giving me a story about like the two of you maybe having a difference of opinion about where you want the relationship to go. That he wants something more practical, right? And you're like, no, I want a big celebration of some kind. But all of that is to say, I think that there is potential for a relationship between the two of you. Whether he's the one, I suspect that, like, I wouldn't ever say 100% yes or no to that question because it's such a big question. But I suspect there may be aspects of your personalities that will cause you to run a little bit into some potential friction with one another, which I guess that's true for all personalities, right? But if we look at like coins being a very practical and ordinary kind of thing, almost like, hey, let's move in together to save money. Also, I really like you, right? And you're like, no, we would have to get married before we were to move in together, and that causing like a conflict. That's the kind of thing that I could maybe see. But you know, that's just me. I'm not saying that specific situation would happen. I'm just like making up a story about the kind of conflict that I could potentially see happening. So let me look at the chat because I have not been looking at it. You're welcome. You're very welcome. And yeah, I'm doing Ivy's reading now. That is so you. Yeah, so I think there's reason to think that like once you sort of emerge from the cocoon of the Four of Swords, right, that he will see something that could lead to something more. That would be the quick reading of these cards. So I think there's reason to be hopeful there. I guess the other thing I'd add with the world is like, this is representing you and you're surrounded by all of these other figures. We'll call them people. You know, this is the only one who really looks like a person, but or I guess they could be animals if there's any weird context in which like you work at a pet store or like a zoo or something like that, but that would be pretty weird. Um, but you're surrounded by all these disparate elements. Like you're in a group of people, right? And so it's like he's seeing you as someone at the center of a group of people, if that makes sense. Almost like he's noticing the way other people admire you, and that makes him admire you too, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's see where we're at. Anne's Human, I think, is next on my list. So I will do that reading next. And then hello, Satella. I see you here in the chat. Welcome. And I don't have you on the list. If you'd like a reading, let me know. I can put you on the list. So Ivy, does this sound, let's see. Do you feel like you've gotten some answer to your question? Whoa, Ivy says. So I think that's a good thing. Hi, Plamena. Welcome. I'm great. Thanks. I hope you're good too. Thanks for being here. And so, yeah, it was a nice read. I mean, I don't always get to say, I mean, I will say, like, I guess there aren't any cups in the reading, right? And so that would be about an emotional connection. Oh, and the one thing I forgot to add, okay, if he's represented by the chariot, the chariot's like the represents or is corresponds to the Cancer, the crab from the zodiac. And so he's got this hard shell, right? This armor on. You can see the figure's wearing armor, which means that it can be hard for him to open up and show his emotions, right? And so that can always be a sort of challenge to like a deep, emotionally fulfilling relationship. Yeah. He definitely has a hard shell. Yes, that sounds right. I mean, I think a lot of us do these days, but when I see the chariot, I always think about that armor that the charioteer is wearing. So, Anne's Human, are you here? If you are here, I see you've already posted your question. And so, Anne's Human, you are here. Great. All right. So, I will read for you next. And if anyone is just joining us, my name is Will. And I'm doing some free tarot readings today, this morning, or I guess it's about noon. If you are interested in a reading, you can request to be put on the list in the chat. And if you like my reading style, consider subscribing so that you can see when I'll be live in the future. I also have a bunch of pick a card videos and tarot deck reviews and things like that on my channel. It's a fairly new channel though, so I don't have a ton of videos, but I've been working at it consistently for a few months now, even though the live streams are brand new to me, and I'm really enjoying doing them. And hi, Jasmine. Yeah, I'll add you to the list. Okay, so Anne's Human's question. I think I saw it up here earlier. There it is. Is a person coming in my life in June? Her behavior and character or something about her if possible. Okay, so we're talking about if there's like a love interest who might be coming your way in the next month of June. And if so, what information could we get about what that person will be like? Okay, so I'll pull 3 cards to start, and those 3 cards will represent the month of June, and we'll see if there's anything in there that indicates a potential love interest, and then we'll go from there. We'll see what we get from there. So 3 cards to see if there's a love interest in June. Okay, let's see what we've got here. All right, we've got some swords and the star. Ooh, and the Ace of Cups. So there's big reason to think that the answer to your question is yes, because we have a woman, and I think you said she in your question, like you would expect this person to be a she. Yeah, her. Yep. So, and then with the Ace of Cups, this is new emotional beginnings, new relationships. So I think there's a big chance that the answer to this would be yes in June. We do start off here with the Ten of Swords. And so with this, there are several things we could consider. One could be like if you, or I suppose it could be her, have recently experienced some big pain, like a breakup or a loss of some kind. There's a feeling here of like that has just ended and it's not healed yet, right? So it's ready to start healing, but like the wound is still there. And, I'm speaking metaphorically. And so, like one thing has ended and it probably was painful. It hurt, but it's over now. And so the good side is it's over, right? And so you can move on to the next thing. And so then we've got the star, which is about hope, optimism, and I always think of the North Star, right? And so like finding a direction, the light at the end of the tunnel, finding like a way to guide yourself towards what will be good for you, right? And then of course we see an actual figure of a person kneeling here with the vessels of water pouring out. So this would make me think too of someone who's like very giving and open and can sometimes do that too much, right? Like can be somebody who wants other people to be well and happy and healed and all of this, so much so that she's pouring water into the water, if that makes sense, like doing something that actually isn't helping. She thinks it is, otherwise she wouldn't be doing it, but it's kind of unnecessary, right? So someone who can sometimes give too much of themselves, and that potentially that could cause problems, right? And then here, the Ace of Cups, this is about potentials, new beginnings, being nourished, being fulfilled. Like your cup overflows. There's something deep and fulfilling that's there for you. So I'm going to say I think the answer is yes, that there's likely someone coming, but there can be some overthinking or some healing because there's been pain in the past. This person is hopeful and you can be optimistic around them, but they can sometimes be too emotional or giving or like do unnecessary things because they think that it will help, but that it is a new relationship potential. Let's pull three more cards and just say, like, what else is there about this person to know at this time? What may we know about this person at this time? So, Three of Wands, they're finding a new direction in their life. They don't necessarily follow the path that has been spread out before them. They're like, somebody says to them, you can go this way or you can go that way. And they say, nope, I'm going over here. That kind of person. Queen of Wands. So this is someone who's very social, who likes to be the life of the party, might be interested in having a career, can be fiery, likes excitement, likes stimulation, likes to have fun, can sometimes be a performer, right? Like someone who does need attention. And some people hate that. Some people love it and think it's very attractive and great. But it can be someone who sort of maybe needs the spotlight on them a little bit, like would not be comfortable just sort of sitting in the back and watching other people. They need other people, or they want other people to be watching them. And 7 coins. This could be someone who is in a transition period in their work or money life, who's trying to accept something into their life, or who, with this card, I always think of like they've put a lot of work into something and they're hoping that it's going to pay off, but they don't know that it's going to pay off yet. And so there's like this transition period where they might end up regretting this thing they've been doing, or they might realize it worked and they're really happy. So there's a little bit of uncertainty, unsurety there with their material life, like time and energy and work and money and that kind of stuff. But lots of wands for this person, someone who's giving but who expects attention back, someone who doesn't follow pre-established paths and is willing to sort of veer off to the side and go their own way, right? And they would get attention from that, right? And that would be exciting and they would like that kind of thing. And who maybe is reconsidering their job situation or their career situation or something practical. I also think about, this is sort of going a little far afield, but the Ace of Cups can also stand for a house. If you see the way it looks kind of like a building, like a house. And so it could be someone who's like in a transition period with their living situation, right? Practical transition with the house. Like maybe they're moving from one apartment to another or something like that. That would make sense. So let's see. Ends human, how does that sound? Does that give you a clearish picture of this person who seems to be possibly entering into your life in the next month? Kind of good, yeah. Yeah, I'd be excited about this. I think they might have a little bit of baggage with the 10 of Swords, unless that's referring to you, but or it could be both of you, right? But there's there's definitely this sense of like, ooh, something rough really happened, but then there's a light at the end of the tunnel that comes out that leads to all of this stuff, which is pretty good. They might be a gold digger. Let's see. I mean, I do think with this card that it would be someone who does enjoy receiving gifts. I think of all of the Wands court cards as people who like generosity. A gold digger, I think if it were a gold digger, I'd see some other scare, like the Seven of Swords would be plotting or scheming. If I saw like the Seven of Swords with this Seven of coins, then I would think plotting or scheming about money would be possible. I don't know they're necessarily going to be a gold digger, but I do think that they may be in a transition phase with something to do with their material life. So, are you on her mind? Let's see. Let me pull 3 more. So let's ask. There's 2 questions there. Am I on her mind or have I met her before? Can you check? So let's ask if it's someone you've met before. I think that will give a better answer. Is it someone you've met before or is this a brand new person? And welcome to anyone who might be joining us now. My name is Will. I'm doing free tarot readings. The list is not super long at the moment. If you're interested in a reading, you can request to be put on the list by requesting it there in the chat. And if you're not able to stick around, you can always subscribe to the channel so that you'll see when I'll be live streaming in the future. So, is this someone Anshuman already knows? All right. Huh. So this card makes me think, this is the Pope, also known as the Hierophant and other decks. This makes me think of school. This makes me think of church. It makes me think of some like institution, right? Any sort of place where people would gather together. And if you see, there's sort of 2 figures down here who are like gathered together to listen to this other person talk. Like they're in a class together or they're at church together or something like that. They're like in a space together, gathered. And so that makes me think it is someone that you, if it's not someone you already know, it's someone who's in a space where you're already going, right? Like with the 4 of Cups, I would think that it's someone who, yeah, is right there in front of you. I think it's someone you do know. If it's not like, okay, what do I mean when I say the word know? It's someone who's already around you. It may not necessarily be someone you've spoken to, but it's like someone who's in the room, right? At school, or I guess it could be work or church or something like that. It's someone who's already in your environment, but you haven't recognized yet that this person is there. And this card is strength. This is about being yourself and taking a risk. So like I think about the way that it looks like this figure is prying open the mouth of the lion as though to say, go talk to her, right? Like take a risk to open your mouth, even though it's scary. Have your strength to go take a risk and talk to this person. So I would ask yourself if there's someone you do already know who's in your environment who maybe you haven't thought of as someone who could be a love interest. And, I think of, if you're familiar at all with the image from the Rider-Waite-Smith version of the Four of Cups, it depicts a person who's like sitting with their back to a tree and they sort of have their arms folded and they're not looking around at them. There's three cups at their feet and they see those, but there's a fourth cup that's being offered to them and they totally ignore it. They can't see it. And so that's the image that's sort of flashing in here when I'm thinking about these four. It's like there, but you don't notice it. So I've got some folks who want to be on the list, and then we're going to move on to Jay is next. Jay's reading, if Jay is here. And Marios, I will add you. You're very welcome, Anshuman. I hope that you get to start something with this person. Marios, and then Rajnandini. I will add you. Sitella, I didn't have you on my list, but let's see, did I miss you? Sitella, I can certainly add you. You were after Anshuman. Let's see. I see you in the chat. I didn't see you request to be added to the list. I just saw you asking whose reading I was doing. Okay, you asked about how Desmond felt. Let's see if I can find it. I see. Okay, got it. Okay, so we'll do Sitella. Jay, are you here? Okay, so I'll read for Sitella and then Jasmine would be next. And Sapsadam, I can add you to the list. Okay, and so Prab, Gisu, and Jay, we have skipped over because I didn't see that they are still here. So Sitella wants to know how Desmond felt about seeing you today. Okay, so you've already seen this person today. You want to know what it was, what he was thinking. And Rajnandi, I think that Sitella was way up at the top of the list today. Can, yes, Sapsadam, I can. I will put you on the list. And I'm just shuffling off camera. And so could you tell me, Sitella, is this a friend or is this like a crush or what is your status with them? Okay, he's much older and you're both married to other people. So is this... Got it. He's a mentor peer, but you're catching feelings. Okay, got it. You've known each other more than 7 years. All right. Okay, so let's take a look. We will ask, what Desmond felt about seeing Satella today. I'll pull 3 cards for that, and we'll see what that gets us. All right, here we go. 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. The moon, which would be deep feelings way pushed down that maybe are starting to come up. 8 cups, lots of people involved in the situation, which makes sense. And 8 swords, okay, which is defensive, feeling stuck. So this would tell me that he is feeling something, and he may not even totally be 100% consciously aware of it, because I always associate the moon with the unconscious, right? So sometimes we feel things or even know things or even do things without knowing why, right? I think that's happened to everybody. You're like, why did I do that? Why did I say that to that person? Or, you feel one thing about one person, but then it turns out you were just doing that because you actually felt something else about somebody else. People are complicated that way. So this is about something big, like under the water, this crustacean, this crayfish or lobster, whatever we want to call it, that is kind of unrecognizable and a little scary. And it's deep down here in the water. And the moon is pulling it out, and it's trying to climb out and move up. But there's a lot of confusion. The dog and the wolf are barking at the moon. They're confused. They don't know what it is. It's a big light in the sky. It doesn't make sense, right? And so they're confused and maybe a little bit scared. Fear can be part of this card, or at least anxiety. And meanwhile, this crustacean is like being pulled out. I think with the moon always of the way that the moon controls the tides. And so almost magically, it seems like you can't see it, but it pulls. It pulls the water and it controls the tides, the gravity of it, right? And so it's not magic, it's gravity. But it feels magic, and it's hidden forces, and you can't see it, and it's tough to explain, right? So that tells me, yes, he feels pulled. There's like hidden forces pulling him, and he's maybe confused. He's maybe scared. He doesn't know what to do about that, or if there's even anything to do about that, right? With the 8 of Cups, I think of emotional movement, but I also think of lots of other people being involved, right? And so if you imagine each cup as representing a person, You could say, well, we have a couple here in the middle. There's two people here trying to get together, but then there's all these people over there, and there's all these people over there, and they're all looking around at two people who are trying to get together, and they're getting involved in the situation. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, right? Like this could be a party, right? Everybody gets together and they're happy, but next to the Eight of Swords, I don't think it's a party, right? This isn't a bunch of people getting together for a good time because these two people got together. People draw swords because these two people got together. The Eight Cups, which are fulfilling and happy and nourishing, they turn into swords, which are dangerous and can cut and are painful and are weapons, right? And so this is about being defensive. This is about saying, I can't move. I can't do this. I've got to stay put in the center here and like protect myself because there's a bunch of sharp swords surrounding me and I could get hurt, or maybe other people could get hurt if I were to do something, right? Like act upon this. So I think he's feeling things, but recognizes all the people involved. And so he's not going to do anything about it. The Eight of Swords is, in the best case scenario, is recognizing the only thing really stopping him is himself. But whether that's bad or not, like, is sort of for him to decide. Whether he acts on his own feelings. There could be a sense, a little bit of feeling trapped here. But, I get the sense that like he doesn't want other people to get hurt. And all these people represented by the Eight of Cups seems like they would get hurt if he were to act based on these deep feelings that are represented on the Moon card. So let's take a look at the chat. He's expressed moments of tenderness, but never overly expressive. You're always surrounded, yes. Okay, do we know what exactly it is that he feels for me? Whatever it is, he's hiding it very well. And I just don't even know if I'm supposed to be special to him or I'm imagining things. Well, let's pull 3 more cards and ask to clarify what the Moon specifically is about, because it's about strong feelings, but that, what kind of feelings are they? So let's just pull a couple more and say, what? He's feeling something, yes, but there's other people involved, and so he's not acting on it. But what is it that he feels? 10 Cups. The Hanged Man. 9 Cups. So listen, you couldn't get any more cups in this reading if I had stacked the deck. We've got 8, we've got 10, we've got 9. Cups, cups, cups. So it's emotions. This is about like relationship fulfillment. It's at a minimum, I'd say it's a deep friendship, right? With the 10 of Cups, I think of like people happily in a relationship. With the Hanged Man, I think of someone who feels like they're giving it up, right? Renouncing it. So like feeling 10 Cups, but giving that up in exchange for 9 Cups, which would mean finding a way of being satisfied, but without that 10th cup, which I think kind of represents you, right? So, I mean, to me, this says like a feeling of wanting to have a relationship with this person, but knowing that it's impossible, and so giving it up. while still having a satisfying like friendship with the person that like doesn't cross boundaries, if that makes sense. Um, but you've got, I mean, it's cups all the way down here. So, uh, 8, 10, 9, that's quite a lot. So yeah, I think you're very welcome. I think he does feel things, but he's also smart enough, wary enough to know that other people could get really hurt, and that those kinds of things get complicated. Like, I think that at the moment he's like finding this balance where he's like, I feel a lot, but I can be satisfied with a friendship, like with with a relationship that's not a love relationship, not a romantic kind of relationship. Yeah. Yeah, if you're both water signs, that would make sense. Also, the moon is a water card, so that would follow. Um, all right, so let me check and see where we're at now. Jasmine, are you here? You're very welcome, Satella. Jasmine is here. Cool. I'm not currently accepting money for readings. That might change in the future, but right now I'm just doing it for my own practice and because I enjoy it. And that may change in the future, but no need to pay me anything today. So, Jasmine and Rajnandi, yes, I have you on the list. I've got Jasmine and then Marios and then Rajnandini and then Sapsedam are the next on my list. So Jasmine, have you already posted your question? If you haven't, go ahead and post it. Otherwise, once I'm done shuffling, I will scroll up and look for it. Jasmine says, will I ever forget? Okay, my cousin Francesca for telling me that I'm not part of her family and also her talking behind my cousin's back. She's a Taurus. So I wonder if, just because I want to make sure I understand the question correctly, do you maybe mean forgive? Will you ever be able to forgive your cousin, Francesca? Or are you thinking like, actually, will you forget about it? Like not remember it? Forgive. Got it. Okay. So your cousin Francesca said to you that you're not part of her family and then talked behind your cousin's back about you. And you want to know if you can ever forgive her. Okay. So I'll pull 3 cards for that. And we'll think about this from your own perspective because it's about will you ever forgive? So let's see. Three cards. Will Jasmine be able to forgive her cousin? King of Batons. 9 coins. And 3 cups. So you know probably by now that I read the court cards without recourse to gender, right? So even though this is a King of Batons, it's representing an aspect of your personality and not like your gender, right? That doesn't matter in this particular instance. And so I would think about this person as someone who wants to have some control and power over a situation. And someone who maybe, let me just think a minute. So this is someone, I think, describing you who can have trouble understanding why other people do things that they would never do, right? Like, this would be, for example, somebody who would say, why don't you just I don't understand why you didn't just do it this way instead of that way, right? And so it can be someone, because this is someone who's achieved so much and someone who's really skilled and knows what they're doing. When somebody else doesn't, this person can have a little trouble understanding that, like, why that person isn't as skilled as they are, if that makes sense. So with the 9 of coins, I think of adding a new element that disrupts things a little bit. If you think about the way that we've got 8 coins and then the 9th one is sort of added to the center, and so it's no longer an even number, and it sort of can mess things up a little bit. And trying to understand this 9th coin and trying to integrate it into like your way of understanding the world. And so this would tell me, like, if you can stay motivated to trying to see things from her perspective, then this would happen, which is 3 cups, which is about emotional growth. And emotional growth does make me think, yes, I would think someone who's like growing emotionally or relationally is more likely to forgive somebody when that person has hurt them or wronged them. So the short answer to your question, I think, would be yes, I can see you struggling to understand her and why she's doing what she's doing, but staying motivated to like figure out what makes her tick or why she felt the need to do what she felt the need to do. And you could still certainly think she's wrong and disagree with her, but the emotional growth part, I think, would be forgiving in a way that says, that's sort of like you just saying, it's about her and I'm going to forgive her for the way that she is. It's not going to keep me awake at night. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. She did what she did, and now I'm done letting that control me, right? And I think that will come through staying motivated in a process of understanding maybe why she did what she did, even if you still think it's wrong, right? Forgiving her doesn't mean you say she was right. Forgiving her means saying you're going to move on from it and you're going to say she's allowed to be wrong, right? And like just let her be wrong and say she's an imperfect human being like we all are, and her particular way in which this flaw of hers manifested was hurting you, and she shouldn't have done it, and it's wrong, but you're going to forgive her in order to not let that control you anymore, right? You had to block her on Facebook last year. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think you could forgive someone and still block them. That's my own, the cards don't say anything about that, but like that's my own thought, is like you can say, I forgive you, but also you hurt me. And, like if someone hurts you and isn't like, if someone hurts you and you think they might hurt you again, you don't have to let them in your life. You can forgive them and say, okay, I forgive you, but also I'm not just going to be your punching bag. I'm not going to let you just keep hurting me, even though I'm able to forgive you. Right. But that's my own thoughts about things. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, seeing the 3 of Cups at the end of this string of cards tells me, yes, I think forgiveness is a possibility in the future between you and her. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to those who may have just joined us. I'm doing some free tarot readings. My name is Will, and I'm probably getting close to winding down my stream today, but if I'm not able to get to you today, you can always subscribe so that you can see when I'll be live in the future. Let me check my list here and see where we're at. Satella and Jasmine, we did those. So next on my list, I have Marios. You're welcome, Jasmine. I'm glad it makes sense. I think there's hope in the future, at least on your end, that you'll be able to forgive her. Yeah. And then if Marios is not here, next would be Rajnandini. And it looks like you are here. So, Rajnandini, if you would like to post your question, you can do that. Otherwise, I'll scroll up and see if you might have already posted it. And Jack, if I have time for you, I could add you. And I think I may, if Marios is not here and Sapsadam is not here. Sapsadam, are you here? So Rajnandini, if you could post your question in the chat, then I will read for you next. There it is. Great. I would like to know my ex's feelings for me. He is an Aquarius and we broke up 2 months back. Okay, let me shuffle. No contact situation. Got it. So Jack, I will go ahead and add you to the list. And in case anyone is just coming in or watching this after the fact, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to see when I'm going live in the future. If I wasn't able to read for you today, there's some folks who are on the list who I called your name, but I didn't see you in the chat again, so I skipped over you today. But I understand that, like, I'm not mad about it or anything. I get that you You might not be able to wait an hour while I do readings for other people, and that's okay. All right, so let me pull some cards for Rajnandini. We want to know their ex's feelings. His name is Surojit. Broke up 2 months ago. So what is he feeling towards Rajnandini? So I'll pull 3 cards to describe his feelings towards you. And welcome to anyone who might just be joining. My name's Will. I'm doing tarot readings. I am currently winding down the live stream, but if you subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to see when I'm live in the future. Okay, so we've got Judgment. Aha, 9 cups. And 5 cups. Okay. So, what is he feeling? I think he's trying to spend a lot of time with friends or other people to maybe distract himself a little bit. With Judgment, we can think about being like waking up from something, figuring something out. It can be having a realization about something, like maybe that it was a mistake to break up if he initiated it, or that he should have behaved differently towards you, and he's like realizing that he should have done something different towards you and has maybe some regret about that. Judgment is about feeling judged, right? Judgment is about recognizing that you and all of us have to account for our actions, and there are consequences to them, and then we get judged for them, right? Kind of like karma, I guess we could say. And so he's trying to appear to others like he is happy on his own. With 9 cups, this card is about being self-satisfied, or at least appearing self-satisfied. This is about someone who it looks like they have everything they want. Looks like they're very happy. This would be someone who, like, on social media is posting lots of videos of the cool restaurants they went to, or like a trip they took, or party, or whatever it was, right? But if you look closely under the surface, they might be kind of lonely, and there might be something missing from their life, which would be the 10th cup, right? Because the suit has 10 in it. And at the end of it all, it's really about 5 cups, which is about sadness and disappointment. This is about feeling like you've lost something, feeling like he's lost something, like he had something pretty good and messed it up. And now he's trying to figure out if he can turn around and move on with his life and go forward without it. So I think he's definitely experiencing that sort of grieving or mourning period after a breakup, and thinking back and wondering, did I do the right thing? Did I really mess up? How can I make it look like I'm okay so that other people don't realize how disappointed I am? And um, and all of that stuff. And so I think there might be some trying to distract himself, maybe with other people, right? Like going out with friends a lot, something like that, um, in order to appear like things are happy and good and like he's fulfilled, almost like he's trying to convince himself that he's happy. But I think really at the end of it, it's a feeling of disappointment and loss, a feeling of loss above all. Yeah. So that's what I would say, Rajnandi. Um, and I see there's a follow-up question, which is, will he be coming back? I blocked him from everywhere. Well, let's see. That's a different question. Let's pull 3 more cards and see, is he planning to come back? If he's blocked, he may not know how to get a hold of you, but let's see what he's thinking about that. Knight of Coins. Four coins. And a sword. So it's all coins and swords here. This knight is the slowest of the knights. And I mention that because it makes me think that if he's doing anything, it's going to be very, very slow, right? With the 4 of coins, I think of someone who is just holding on to what they have and not really moving or going anywhere, right? Someone who's like stuck in a particular place and they're grasping on to what they can find to keep everything together, but they're not like reaching out to like contact you, for example. And then with the sword, this can be about having a new idea. This can be about your having a sharp mind. We use swords to cut or attack, right? We use swords to fight. And so way on the horizon, way out in the future, like way beyond everything, he is seeing that there's a sword there, but it's not. So that makes me think like if he were to reach out, I don't think it would be to restart the relationship, right? This would be more like, I mean, swords can also be communication. So it could be a new idea to communicate, but it would be way out in the future, right? So is there any chance that he's going to reach out to you soon? No. Way out in the future, because he's very slow with it. Is it possible he'll get the idea to try to contact you? It is possible way out on the horizon, but I wouldn't expect it soon. So let me just look. Let's see, is there... Yeah, Jack says, I'm not a tarot reader, but just as practical advice, you can talk to him and see his reaction. Yeah, that's certainly true. Although there might be reasons not to want to do that. But it certainly is always an option, right? Yeah, I mean, I sort of think like... I mean, the question you asked, Raznandi, is a really common question for tarot. right? We get that question all the time. What does my ex think of me? People love to ask that question, and we all want to know, right? I think something that sometimes is underneath that question is like a person trying to decide for themselves, do I want to get back together with them? And like, if I knew that they wanted to get back together with me, then maybe I would consider it. But I also worry that, like, I think people can sometimes have a habit of falling into patterns where they maybe want to get back together with someone because it's comfortable, because they know that person, and not necessarily because it's the best way forward for them to grow. Because I think when we're really comfortable, we're not necessarily in a good position to grow and change, because change is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable, right? And so, this has nothing to do with me reading the cards. This is just me talking about my own ideas. But comfortable can be bad for us, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay, so Sepsadum, if you're here, I think I've got you next. Cool, you're here, and then I'll read for Jack, and then I think that will end the live stream for today. So, Sapsadum, if you haven't posted your question, go ahead and post it. Otherwise, I'll scroll up in a moment and try to find it. All right. Sapsadum asks, will he stop being so egotistical? How can I reduce his ego? He loves me, I know. He says he loves me and shows me that with his behavior, but I don't want his or my ego in this relationship. All right. Let's see. Will he stop being so egotistical? Okay, let's see. I'll lay out 3 cards for that question. All right, 10 wands. This can be about loyalty, devotion, and carrying a heavy burden together. Can also mean being very passionate or even burning out. 6 coins is about being generous and expanding one's material resources. And then we have the King of Cups. King of Cups likes power and control. That's the ego there, I think. So, King of Cups, let's talk about the King of Cups first, and then we'll tie in the other cards. And so the King of Cups is someone who can feel things very deeply, but has learned or been taught, might be a better way to put it, not always to express their full authentic self publicly out in the world, because other people don't always get them. And so they have to kind of hide or push down parts of themselves. Like sometimes it's the creative part of themselves or the emotional part of themselves or the intuitive or something unconscious gets repressed. And so they've got this sort of big, deep cup of creativity and emotion, but they're a king. They've got a crown on. And that means they have to behave in a certain way. And people expect certain things from them. And so they've got to sort of hide deep down something about themselves. And it makes me wonder if this person's ego is them reacting to the feeling like they have compromised or sacrificed something about themselves, right? Like if I had to give up this creative part of my life, then I'm going to be really egotistical about this other part of my life, if that makes any kind of sense. So, in other words, I guess what I'm saying is, it seems to me like what you're experiencing with this person of having kind of a big ego, this is kind of at the moment an important part, a core part of their personality, because it's kind of a reaction to how they've developed as a person, right? I would say even if they have the big ego, this card makes me think that they can be very loyal and devoted, right? They don't want to be alone. This is someone who, because they can feel things so deeply, they can be a very good partner. As long as there is a strong emotional connection. And if there is a strong emotional connection, this person can be like 100% all in for that. And it seems like they're also someone who can be generous with like time, money, and energy. Like, giving time to you, like attention to you, making plans with you. Someone who I would think would not be cheap with like buying dinners or stuff like that. So if I'm just looking at these three cards and the question is his ego going to go away? These three cards would sort of tell me no. So let's pull three more, because I think we could get a little more detail and information here. So let's see. Let me look at the chat. So let's see, Jack, I tried 2 times before, but he wasn't right me. Do you mean, Sepsatum, that when you tried to talk to him before about how he made you feel, that he didn't like pay attention, or did he ignore you? And while Sapsadum is in the chat, I'm going to pull 3 cards to ask. Yeah, he ignored you. Okay. So I'm going to pull 3 cards, I think, and I think we should ask what. Okay, let me think a minute. I'm going to grab, let's see. I'm going to pull 3 cards. Okay, this is the current situation. This is what you should not do. This is what you should do. Okay? Current situation, first card. Don't do this, second card. Do this instead, third card. Ha! A bunch of monkeys on a wheel is the current situation. The Wheel of Fortune. So you're going around and around in circles with this person. And it feels like nothing's changing, right? It's revolving, it's turning around and around, but like it's almost just like patterns repeating, right? And so maybe things get good and then they get bad, and then they get good and then they get bad, but it's just like a repeating situation. So that's describing what's happening. What you should not do is the Fool. I'm going to flip the last card before I interpret the Fool. What you should do is the Hermit. Okay. So the fact, first of all, I'll just say that we've got all major arcana cards here is significant because it means, on the one hand, this is like a big deal to put it in sort of simple terms, right? It's about, this is not just an ordinary thing. Like there might be some pretty big decisions that you have to make. Don't be the fool means don't let someone else take advantage of you. It means don't be naive. If there are warning signs, if you've got this little dog barking at your back and saying, careful, careful, you're going to fall off a cliff, you need to pay attention to the dog, right? Metaphorically speaking. The hermits are alone, right? Hermits also seek out something. The hermit has a lantern, right? The title of my channel is The Hermit's Lantern. And so the hermit has this lantern that they're holding up to show them the next step forward so that they can see where they're going to go. So the hermit is searching for something. They're looking for something. They're on like a quest to improve themselves or find something or someone, right? And so the cards are kind of saying, I could take it two ways. One would be seek out someone who could help you, who could sort of be a light in the darkness, who could be your lantern in the darkness, right? Like, for example, a relationship counselor, right? Like a wise person. This card can often represent a therapist, right? A therapist or a counselor of some kind. Like seek out someone knowledgeable who could help you to navigate or find your way forward in this situation. Okay. The other way to read this, and I would never tell you what to do, you have to make your own decisions. And this, tarot cards are just one part of how you would choose what to do in your life. But the hermit is alone, right? They're not with another person. And so, you should maybe consider that, right? Like how would things be different? Would things be better or worse if you weren't with this person? That's 100% for you to decide. I would never say that, this card means you have to break up. That is not at all what I'm saying. There's always multiple interpretations of the cards. And as I said, this one can mean like seek out help. It could mean seek out a counselor or a therapist, right? But that said, you want to be the hermit and not the fool. The fool ignores warnings and ignores problems and just keeps going. And we designated that this position was what you should not do, right? So don't just keep going along, even though you're seeing problems. Instead, you have to search for a way to fix them or go out on your own, right? Because in the current situation, things are just repeating, right? You're unhappy with his behavior. You try to talk to him about it. He doesn't listen. Nothing changes. And then it repeats again. He does something else that bothers you. You try to talk to him about it. He doesn't listen. He doesn't change. He does it again, right? This is just going to keep going. So you can't just keep going, right? You've got to search for something else that you could do instead. And with this card, I would think like bring in another person into the situation, right? Like a counselor, like maybe, like, I don't know if you're seeing a counselor or a therapist, but even on your own, if you were to seek out someone and then maybe get him to come to one of those sessions, like that's an idea. Uh, but these cards are kind of saying, I don't think he's planning on making any changes. Things are repeating, and um, if you're not okay with that, then it sounds like you are going to have to make the change if he's not, right? So let's look at the chat, and welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name's Will, and I'm doing free tarot readings. I am winding down the live stream for today, but if you would like to subscribe to my channel, you'll be able to see when I am live streaming in the future. All right. So Sapsadam says, I can't ignore. I love him. I know I'm stupid. Can we ask the cards? Is he trying good things for this relationship? I mean, from his perspective, I would say yes. But right, like with the first two cards that I pulled, the 10 of Wands, this is about being loyal, being devoted, right? Sticking together. He doesn't want to be alone, right? And being generous. But I think he's also got this pattern, this cycle, and is not, I mean, I think that he's just expecting that you will get used to it, right? And so you have to decide whether you're okay with that or not, right? So let me check. We've got Jack. I think, Jack, I'm just going to have time for one question. And so should I do the romantic question? Why don't we do that? I'd rather do that than the health question. So why don't we ask what's on the horizon for Jack romantically? Let me shuffle these. And welcome to anyone who's joined. My name's Will. I've been doing some free tarot readings today on this live stream. And I am wrapping up the live stream for today. But if you would care to subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to see when I'm live in the future, which will probably be tomorrow in the afternoon. I try to schedule the live streams like a day in advance so that you can check my channel and see when I will be live. Or if you're subscribed, then you can just look on the left where your subscriptions are, and there'll be that little live stream symbol that will tell you that I'm currently live. And if I'm live, then I'm almost certainly doing readings, unless like today I've been at it for a few hours and I'm ready to take a break. Hi, B. Nice to see you here. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a good one too. And Manam, I see you posted. My list is not currently open right at the moment because my plan was to go for 2 hours today, and I'm at 2 hours and 13 minutes. So I think that this question I'm doing for Jack is going to be my last one for today. But if you'd care to subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to see when I'm live tomorrow. It'll probably be around this time right now, maybe a little later in the day. Hi, Danielle. I'm just wrapping it up just because I've got to eat lunch and then I have some plans later in the afternoon. Okay, so Jack, we're going to ask what's coming up for you romantically. Um, Danielle didn't get an alert. I'm not super familiar with how YouTube alert works, but I think if you subscribe, if you just click subscribe, it won't necessarily turn the alerts on unless you like have to click the subscribe thing again, and then there's like several options. And one of them, I think if you like click it again, there's an option above that'll say like turn alerts on. Um, okay, so we're going to see for Jack. Let's look at what's on the horizon romantically. Okay, so we'll pull 3 cards and let's think like a month ahead. Jack, I'm going to assume that you're single based on the question that Jack is single and we want to see what's coming up. Let's see like the next month. All right. One, two, three. So for Jack in the next month, romantically, 5 swords, 6 swords, and the Knight of Swords. Swords, swords, swords. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I asked for a month. That was the time period that I'd put on these cards. And so this would tell me a breakthrough of some kind that you need to adapt to so that you can move forward in the right direction. But none of this really says romance to me, right? So within the next month, I would see probably not. We'll pull a few more cards for you. We'll pull 3 more and see maybe if the month after that. But this is all swords. And so swords can be about communication, conflict. It's about the mind, using the mind. And so with the 5 of swords, I would think like if you've been resting, if you've been, what's the word I'm looking for? My mind is getting slow because it's a couple hours in to the live stream and my caffeine is wearing off. If you've had restrictions that you've put up, if you've been withdrawing at all, the 5 would suggest that you're breaking through those and you're like ready to go out and be in the world again. The 6 is about adapting. It's about moving on, especially if you've been hurt in the past. This can be a card that's about emotional baggage and like moving forward despite what's happened in the past, but sometimes carrying along a little of that trouble with you, even as you're making progress and moving forward. It's like this sword, which can hurt and is painful, right? Turns into a flower, right? So something grows where there was pain before. And then the Knight of Swords, this would say that you are taking a lot of action moving forward in like, it could be any number of things, but usually it's something that you believe in, right? I think of with swords, I think of the mind, and with the mind, I think of beliefs. And so the Knight of Swords is galloping off with their sword drawn, doing something that is meaningful to them, that they believe in, right? But none of that says romance. So let's pull 3 more and see. Let's just do another month. So like July. I think June might be more about thinking through some things prior to a relationship. 9 wands, 2 coins. Ooh, and 10 cups. Okay. So no more swords when we get to July, right? And with the Nine of Wands, I think about if you work or study, uh, this is saying there might be an interruption to that, and that you might sort of need to prioritize things because you're on the verge of getting overwhelmed with it. And you might feel sort of wounded or exhausted, and that you need to take a step back. So, like this knight who's riding so quickly forward and has put so much effort into making things work out in their life the way they want them to work out, needs to be careful of burning out, right? Uh, you might find yourself juggling things, metaphorically, meaning like working hard and playing hard, or maybe having to figure out some money troubles, right? Like transferring money from here to there or trying to get this money over there to make ends meet. But you're very, very happy with 10 cups here. 10 cups is the most cups that you can have on any single card in the tarot. And so this would represent you being really fulfilled and with other people. I always think of family with this card. So this card isn't necessarily about starting a new relationship, but it is about being really fulfilled and satisfied and happy with relationships that might sort of already be there. And so I don't necessarily like if you were already in a relationship, I would read this differently. If you're not in a relationship, this almost makes me think like you're feeling very fulfilled with your friends and family, right? Even if you're not like dating someone new who you hadn't been dating before. And I think what I'll do is just pull three more for you because sort of the answer so far has been I'm not seeing a lot of romance happening because like you're single, so you're thinking like when am I going to date someone again, right? So let's just do three more and then I'm going to stop. But let's do three more. So this would be like around August in the fall, end of summer, beginning of fall. Let's see if there's anything there. Working together with people, collaborating to produce something good. Someone at work, a Queen of Coins perhaps, and learning from that person. So I think there is someone who you have some practical relationship with. I think of work, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I'm thinking that because it's coins, so it's practical, it's like ordinary, somebody that you would see in just going about your everyday regular stuff. This is someone who you would probably interact with. And I don't know that it's going to be a relationship. It might be more like a practical friendship, although I suppose it's something that could grow because three is the number of growth. And we've got three coins here and we've got three swords over here. So surrounded by growth. With the three coins, I think of different people coming together to produce something good, right? But some practical good. It's not like producing necessarily a relationship like it would be with cups. Here it would be like working together on a work project, right? Or producing profit, that kind of thing, right? Here she is with her coin, like she's adding her coin to the little pile of coins over there. And then with the three of swords, some people will interpret this card as heartbreak. With this deck, I tend not to do that unless there's a really good reason to, and I don't see that here. And so I tend to think of it of growth of the mind, which would be learning. Like this, she's someone who you could learn something from. And so is this a deep, long-lasting romantic relationship that's going to sweep you off your feet? I don't think so. But is it someone who you could get to know in a practical way and learn something from, and maybe it could turn into something later? Who knows? Yeah, I think that is possible. And so, but that would be down the road a ways, right? I had to pull 9 cards before we got to that point. So I think on the really near horizon, and just let me add, because I said this at the beginning of the live stream, but I haven't said it since, and so I don't know if you were here to hear it, which is like, this is not written in stone. This is a forecast, like a weather forecast. Your feelings can change even just by listening to me saying all of this. Everything could change because maybe you'll realize there's something you could do differently to bring a love interest to you sooner because I said I don't see it here, right? So even just you listening to me talk about these cards could now change everything that's going to happen in the future, and that could be great, right? This is not set in stone. It's not like it's impossible for you to meet someone. It's possible that these cards are showing up in order to like help you realize what you need to change so that you would meet someone, right? And so I just want to sort of throw that out there too, that we're not talking about written in stone destiny here. We're talking about a forecast that can change, just like feelings and ideas and the weather can all change from day to day. So I wouldn't say that there's a big sweep you off your feet kind of deep romance in the immediate future based on these cards. But maybe towards the end of summer, there could be someone that you have a connection with that's practical and intellectual that maybe could turn into something else in the future. So I think that is going to wrap it up for me today. I appreciate everybody that I was able to read for. I enjoyed doing it. It was fun. Thanks for letting me into your life ever so briefly. And if you are interested in a future reading, please consider subscribing to the channel and make sure you can receive alerts. You have to figure that out on your end, but you can also look in my channel under lives and you'll see when I have them scheduled. I try to schedule a day in advance whenever possible. That will do it for me today. Again, I've been Will, and I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, or night, whatever time it might be where you are in the world. Be well. Blessings to all of you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.